Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco. Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to ask. No, see, here we are as we're continuing this wonderful series of episodes. Canada.
Oh, Canada.
Now, the three of us reside in the United States of America.
Mm-hmm. We do.
We welcome, obviously, all of our listeners, regardless of your country of origin or residence.
Tim Hortons to all of you.
Yeah. Very nice.
Aussie.
Yeah, you know, okay, so that tends to be, and I know it's a joke to our wonderful neighbors to the north, is it safer, right? What's going on? So I pulled up the numbers, crime rates from 2017. Right now, 2017 is the most complete that you can get. And on the surface, you would look and go, oh, wow, like, okay, so homicide. The rate of homicides in Canada, and this is per 100,000 people, homicides is 1.76. In the United States, it's 5.3.
Oh.
Okay,
that's significant.
That's significant. I think
and that's not even the metric system.
No, that.
Oh wait, we're counting metric deaths.
That's how it works, right? Isn't that how the metric system works?
Right.
I'm familiar.
No, this is people. They're not.
Oh,
it's one for one, right? If we were to look at robberies for Canada, 61.9. Again, per 100,000. In the United States, 98. So, almost 50% increase there. But here's the thing. Like, on the surface, you would look at that and you go, oh, wow. If you look at total violent crime violations per 100,000 people, in Canada, it's 1,098. In the United States, 382. So what does this tell us? I'm not a demographic statistician of any validity, right? The numbers are different. It depends on how you look at them. It depends on what you're comparing and how you're comparing it to. I should also note, and as I think everyone probably assumed, we're all talking about a population that is far smaller than the United States. The United States right now is around 330 million people. Canada's about a tenth of that at about 35. So 35 million. So look, is Canada safer? Maybe some places. I don't know. I'm not. They're our neighbors. We love them. All of our Canadian listeners, we're not going to tell you to take off A. We're going to tell you that we love you. and we're friends, and we're going to continue to figure this out. Why do I bring all this up? This may be part of a line in this minute.
Because here we are in minute 14, of Iron Man 2 from 2010, directed by American-born Mr. Jon Favreau. So we're continuing on the trial of Tony Stark, and once again joining us to continue this coverage is Mr. Ryan Dalton.
Hello.
Thank you very much for staying on with us as Tony is getting roasted by Justin Hammer.
Yeah, I'm having a blast. So
we're in the middle of Justin Hammer's sort of opening statement, I guess it is. And so he's continuing on saying, in the last 6 months, Anthony Stark, there it is again. I love it. Anthony Stark. Anthony Stark has created a sword with untold possibilities, but he insists it's a shield. Obviously, Sam Rockwell's delivery is much, much better. But he asks us to trust him as we cower behind it. That is so good. Like, yes. I don't know. I'm like, once again, I know, like they say, a lot of this movie was improv and stuff too, but like, I gotta give it to Justin Theroux. Like all of Justin Hammer's opening statement is just brilliant. So I don't know if that was him or a combination of him and Sam Rockwell, but like, it is good. And then we get to
rhythm to it. The rhythm to it is very, very pleasing.
Yeah, and like because you know that this is prepared. Like he came, with the receipts ready to go, and then he gets to what you said, Ryan, was your favorite line in the movie.
Yes,
would you like to do it?
Yeah, I'd like to leave my doors unlocked, but this ain't Canada.
See, first of all, it's an amazing line, right? But what I love about this is that that's like a line, like you almost needed the shot of the senators, where the senators are like, what did he say? Like,
I boo you, sir, and may I say his.
I mean, No, but again, this is so great. You are learning, you are getting everything about the Justin Hammer character in literally 90 seconds.
Yeah.
This is who he is. Yes, he can be eloquent. Yes, he can be charming. Yes, he can say all the right things. And then in a moment, he can put his foot in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. Oh,
See, we get to the next. So for me, the next line for me is what I think is what my favorite is, and really lands is. He says, "We live in a world of grave threats that Mr. Stark won't be able to foresee." And it's like, ooh, like that's a great line not only for Iron Man 2, like what's going to happen for the rest of the movie, but also like that becomes like a defining character thing for Tony Stark from the Avengers on.
Right.
Like a shield of armor around the world. I mean, that's all tied up in this thing, these things that he can't foresee. And then of course he ends it with, "God bless Iron Man. God bless America." As he's like holding his microphone from the podium and sets it down.
Again, I just think just showing this, and I mean, I've been in this situation. Like, I think anybody who's, you're trying to, either you're performing or you're doing something, and you kind of just in your mind, you have that mind hiccup where you're just like, and thank you all so much, and everyone.
Yeah, and it happens here on this show.
All the time.
Every couple episodes where I'm like, thank goodness for editing, because it gets to the point where I go, wait, what are we talking about now? Like, where are we at? What am I saying? So that interestingly, there actually is a deleted scene that fits in right here, which is actually Justin Hammer's speech, but longer. There's actually more stuff he goes into, and in the course of that speech, he actually has an Iron Man action figure, an actual one from the first movie. So he pulls it out, and he was saying that his nephew loves Iron Man, and he uses it as a prop in it. And even like the Senators, they do cut Senators like, oh, come on, man, you're pulling an action figure. But what was cool about that deleted scene is that they actually cut to Pepper, and so Pepper gets up in the middle of this speech because she goes and gets Tony's lunch order because.
That's how little Tony cares about what's being said. He's ordering hot dogs.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, Pepper Potts is like, do you not have someone to? Like, I guess that gets into where Natalie Rushman comes in, but we'll get there. But she goes to the back of the room, and who's there attending this briefing? Why, it's Agent Coulson. So this was originally where Agent Coulson was going to show up for the first time, like that he'd been in the room, and so they have a little conversation about how do you think it's going and that kind of thing too. And then I was going to get back, and then it comes back to, and then it wraps up the same way. So it was just like there's more. You could hear more of Justin Hammer talking in the background. Still good stuff, but they decided to just cut it down just to keep things a little tighter. So essentially, in your mind, you can think in the back of the room is Agent Coulson because he literally was there.
And I liked Pepper's exchange with him because it's to me building a little bit towards that friendship we see she has with him in the first Avengers. Yeah. Where it's like, when he pops up and she's happy to see him, it's obvious that they have a friendship now. We just kind of haven't seen it on screen. Right. So this to me was a little seed building towards that. And then
Hi Phil. Why is he Hi Phil?
And then Hammer in the background, you can hear him say things that are even a little more on the nose about what's going to happen in the rest of the movie. Like, God forbid someone else come up with this technology or equivalent. And things. So I actually like that they cut that part because it's so on the nose about prophesying what's about to happen. I like that they end up, the final cut is a little more ambiguous. But I could definitely see it's something that you would write out when you're kind of trying to find the scene and the message and what's going on and that you might cut later.
Yeah. I also think too is that when he does the action figure part, the Senators, it cuts to all the Senators, and the Senators are all face palming.
Come on, dude. Really?
Oh, man. Props? You're doing prop comedy? Come on.
Well, no, and I'll tell you, I think part of the reason why you cut this is because, okay, you want to leave a little bit of the mystery of Justin Hammer for the rest of the movie. Yeah. And I think if you do that, it immediately buffoons him, right?
Yeah, because he comes on really strong.
Exactly.
It's basically don't make my little nephew cry when he pulls out the action figure. And that at that point he becomes cartoony. So you're right. It's good to leave him with you're a little bit like wondering what kind of a threat this guy is.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah. So then we have the senator says, we would now like to invite Colonel James Rhodes to the chamber. And everybody's like, hubbub. And even Tony turns around. He's like, Rhodey? And he turns around and you look at the back and, hey, that doesn't look like Terrence Howard. What happened? So there's a couple things that went on. Now, obviously, this is while we have a lot of facts, a lot of the show is about conjecture and fun and silliness and stuff too. So there is no definitive answer of why he's not in here, but the basic scuttlebutt is time and money. When the first Iron Man film happened, Terrence Howard was the highest paid actor on it because he was just coming off of Hustle and Flow, and he had a lot of heat coming in the same way Mickey Rourke is coming into this movie with a lot of heat. And so he was able to negotiate a really good salary. And Robert Downey Jr. was sort of an untested property in terms of leading man, especially for comic movies. So he was brought in under. So he actually made less money on the first movie than Terrence Howard did. And so when Terrence Howard came back for the sequel, he expected that he would be getting the same amount of money or even more. And Marvel went, no. Now, you're just a guy. Like now we have Robert Downey Jr., star of Sherlock and Tropic Thunder. So like why? Like so he's now crossed into the triple digits where he wasn't before. Apparently,
he got all your money.
Yeah. So he got the money, and you're just going to get scale for what your part is. And it was like, whoa, hold on, what?
He wasn't going to get scale.
Negotiations turned very, very sour very, very quickly. And Terrence Howard was very upset because apparently Robert Downey Jr. did not weigh in on it one way or the other. So he was like, what happened? Like you're the star. You could have easily just said, oh no, give him what, and it would have happened. And apparently that did not happen. And so things went sour, negotiations fell apart, and now we have another. And so Terrence Howard walked off, and he has gone on to have a pretty successful career still. Like he's still out there going, so it didn't really hurt him that much. But it's a shame because I thought he was really good in Iron Man, and I would have liked to see what he could do as the character developed. But if you have to make a change, this is a pretty good change to make because welcome to Iron Man 2, Mr. Don Cheadle. Woo! Ding, 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 ding.
Totally.
Donald Frank Cheadle Jr. Rob, he's another junior.
That's very nice.
He's Don Jr., just like your Rob. I mean, come on. Like the two of you are like simpatico.
Maybe.
So, and actually he comes a lot from where you are broadcasting from in your secret undisclosed location. He's from Kansas City, Missouri. So you actually might be able to find the Cheadles, Ryan. Like he's right around in your area. So
fun. I'll start knocking on doors.
Yeah, Mr. Cheadle, Mrs. Cheadle. Yeah, he's from Kansas City, Missouri. I'm saying I know enough about that area to know I need to specify that. He went to Cal Arts, graduating with a BFA, which is a Bachelor of Fine Arts. Got his SAG card for a little film called Moving Violations. Rob, 1985.
Yes.
Okay, this is just basically just a moment between Rob and I, and anyone who's like 40 and up. So I'm going to tell you who the stars of this movie are. Okay, it's starring Jennifer Tilly, Wendy Jo Sperber, Sally Kellerman, Fred Willard, and Clara Peller.
Wow. Mary Jo? Isn't she
Mary Jo Sperber?
Buddies?
Yep. Wendy Jo Sperber. Yeah, sorry, Wendy Jo Sperber.
Yeah.
Yep. She was on Bosom Buddies, and she actually had a pretty good career as a voiceover artist. Yeah, and Clara Peller. Clara Peller was like acted in this movie. It's like this weird, like lost comedy classic from the 80s.
Well, wait, Clara Peller, like if anybody doesn't know, she's the
Where's the beef lady?
The Wendy's commercials.
Yeah.
Which I mean, what are you doing?
Right? It was basically like a comedy about people who had to go to traffic court. That's it's traffic. It's a traffic school movie. Here it is. Like people have been like from before. Like Rob made that joke about Night Court. When's the other Night Court reference? Here it is because Don Cheadle guest starred on Night Court.
Oh, he did.
In 1985, he had quite a 1985. And I'd say, okay, so I know like that is kind of a big deal, but like to get that show at that time was a big deal. Like just appearing on any one of these shows was like a huge career boost. So from this, he went on to appear on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the Golden Girls spinoff, Golden Palace.
Oh,
so
wow.
If anybody ever has anything negative to say about Don Cheadle, I would point to this and say that man paid his dues.
Yeah, really.
No he kidding. Worked his way up through taking every job that he could and killing on all of them. So the first time I really noticed Don Cheadle, I had seen all those things, but it did make a thing. The first time I really noticed him was in a little film called Devil in a Blue Dress, where he played off of Denzel Washington, and like he, for me, lit up the screen. He was like Mouse Alexander, and I went, "Who is this guy?" Like every once in a while, someone gets a role like that where suddenly you just go, oh wow, like and you want to know everything about what they've ever done. So by the point that he's here showing up in Iron Man 2, he had already done Oceans 11, 12, and 13. Yeah. After this, there are two notable things I wanted to point out. First of all, he would go on to voice Donald Duck in DuckTales. And you're like, wait a minute, Donald Duck, doesn't he have a thing? In one episode, or actually say 2 episodes of DuckTales, Donald swallowed a small device that made it so he actually could be understood. And so he had the voice of Don Cheadle. And Don Cheadle was so good in this role. Like, he made me appreciate Donald Duck on a whole different level. Because, like, Donald Duck was, like, smart and in command, and everybody understood what he was saying. They're like, oh, have you been, like, this smart the whole time? And we just didn't know because we couldn't understand you?
I got to look that up. That sounds awesome.
And while you're looking it up, the other thing I would recommend looking up is he was in one of the funniest sketches in SNL in probably the last 5 years. It's a sketch called Bar Fight. And it's hard to find because it uses a song in it, and so that always gets weird with rights and stuff too. And that's why I can't play any of it here because it's a song. But seriously, it is worth looking at. It is out there, and I hesitate to say where exactly you can find it because I don't want to take it down. Because I watched it again, and it's just as funny like the 10th time I watched it as the first time. But it's called Bar Fight. He's really, really funny in it. He plays a guy who picks a fight with another member of the thing. Like he wants to get in a fight, and they turn on some fighting music, but they pick the wrong song on the jukebox, and then everything sort of goes off the rails from there on. It is hilarious.
It's Beck Bennett, isn't he?
Beck Bennett, yeah, Beck. That's right. He picks a fight with Beck Bennett, who also is in DuckTales as Launchpad McQuack.
It all connects.
Yes.
Cheadle has also played another superhero.
That's true.
Captain Planet.
That's right. For Funny or Die.
For Funny or Die.
I actually saw he was on a panel at a con for a show because I was doing my research. I can't remember. It wasn't for. I think it's for one of the later movies. It wasn't for this, but he was in the middle of talking, and he looked over the front row, and he's like, "I see you, Captain Planet." Because there's somebody who was cosplaying as him as Captain Planet, and he called him out. So yeah, he has a good sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So and so they have this scene. So he comes walking down and turns, and obviously this is a same character we know, but played by a new actor. And so he is, and even Jon Favreau in the commentary says this scene was written for Hall H. So what does that mean? Because this is Comic-Con, obviously San Diego Comic-Con, the pinnacle of all pop culture kind of things, always has a Marvel, or had, I should say, I think they've stopped doing it now, always had a Marvel panel. And so this is basically, so he said he almost designed this moment to be played at Hall H. So everybody, so this is basically just a shout out to the fans. So they do it. So Don Cheadle turns, and as Rhodey says, look, it's me. I'm here. Deal with it. Let's move on. So yes, we all know what happened. We all acknowledge it, but it's my job now.
That pretty much says it all.
Yeah. And even Tony Stark goes, and he goes, drop it.
Yeah.
And that is pretty much where that minute particularly comes to an end. So we have the entrance of Don Cheadle into the MCU, and he will go on to stay here. And he is still in the MCU. Oh yeah, spoilers for every movie that follows. A War Machine doesn't die.
Yeah, that's true.
Other things happen, but he's still around.
One of the things that we learned about Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes is he is the United States Air Force weapons procurement liaison.
Ooh, interesting.
You know, gentlemen, if you wanted to procure, maybe not weapons, but let's say you wanted to procure a new phone case, or maybe a pillow, or maybe a face mask in these times, I think we know a place that you can go. Is that correct, Kyle?
That is correct. You can go to nextreel.com/merch, and all those things are available. And some of them with our heavily bearded faces on them. You can get all the things that Rob mentioned and more. And if you buy some of the non-medical grade masks that have our faces on them, which is like putting our face onto your face, portion of those go towards the frontline workers who are going. So a mask for you means a mask for them. So it's also a nice thing to do.
So be your household's awesomeness procurement liaison.
Oh,
Go there now.
I'm logging on right now. Ding.
So be back here for minute 15, where we'll actually see Rhodey get to do his testimony as the trial of Tony Stark continues. So thank you, Ryan, for hanging out with us so far. Please stay along if you can
Really?
for Rhodey's big appearance. And so we'll see you all back here for minute 15. Enough said.
Bye.